Hi everyone, in today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how to deploy the ASAv, the Cisco Virtual Firewall, in a VMware ESXi environment. Now, for you to install the ASAv, of course, you have to download the software. I'm not going to show you on how do you download the software from the official Cisco website. But for those of you who are familiar with the Cisco software Central, right? You can download the software from the Cisco Software Central. You need a valid CCO ID and you have to be a registered Cisco partners to be able to get access to that to download trial licenses. If not, you can always reach out to your local partner, right? Registered Cisco partners or Cisco distributor to get the software for you to try out in your environment. Now, when you download the software, it comes as a zip file for VMware. If you are going to install in KVM, it has a QCOW2 image there, right? So I've already downloaded the zip file. I've already unzipped the folder, the file, and these are the files that you will see when you unzip the zip file that you've downloaded from the website. Okay, next what I'm going to do is, go to my EXSI web client. As you can see, I've already logged in. What you need to do now is to just click on Create and then select Deploy a virtual machine from an OVF or OVA. So this is probably one of the simplest way to deploy the ASAv. If you're going to do it through vSphere or you're going to do other form of virtualization or virtual installation, then there might be a lot more steps that you need to do, right? But for EXSI, it's pretty straightforward. Once you select deploy a virtual machine from a OVF or OVA file, click next. Now give it a name. And then what you can do is now drag and drop the files. Okay, you don't need all the files, you just probably need the OVF and ISO and the VMDKs file, right? But for simplicity's sake, I can just select all. VMware is smart enough to, detect the file that it needs, right? These are the 4 files that you will need. Click next, right? Select the location that you want to store the VM on. I'm going to store it in my local data store. Click on next. Now read through the license agreement, right? Agree to those terms and conditions, and then click next. Now, by default, you can see there are a few things that we're going to do, right? So this is exactly like how it will look like in a ASA appliance. There's network management network and the various network port that you can configure. Like for VM OVF images, default they have a management LAN and then the various network port that you see. So for this tutorial, I'm going to select my MX for my management LAN, and I'm going to select uh, a separate network for my internal interface, right? So we can do that. You can always change that after you've configured, but it's good to make sure that you do proper planning and try and change that in advance, right? So that's once that's done, let's select the deployment type. I'm going to get a license, demo license later. So I'm going to use the ASAv10, which is 1 core, 2 gigabits, right? So it support up to 2 gigabits of throughput. Okay. I'm going to select team provisioning, right? Tick and team provisioning, there's a slight performance difference, but for lab and test environment, team provisioning is good enough. It saves quite a fair bit of space. And then I'm going to allow it to power on automatically. Click on next. Right, and that's all you need, right? Deploying the ASAv in VMware is really that straightforward, right? It's probably about 5 minutes to 10 minutes, and you're done, right? Click on finish, and you can see, you know, the deployment is running in the background, right? So once it's done, we will be able to access the local command line interface of the ASAv. Okay, it's done. So let's click on the ASAv and you can see it's power on automatically. Now we can see it's booting from the boot flash. Right, by default, there are no configurations that are being done. Of course, you can do a config file. All right, for production environment, you want to probably do your config file early and then just deploy your config file, right? But for lab environment, we're going to do from scratch. So I'm going to show you from scratch how it looks like. Okay, it takes a couple of minutes to boot. It's pretty straight fast. Okay, so once you boot up the ASAv, um, you will notice that it will prompt you that you do not have a valid license, right? We have not applied any license. You can then request for a trial, right? I believe you can get a trial between 30 to 90 days, right? And then you can apply it using Smart License and you'll be able to use the full function, right? By default, without the license, there is a limit on the throughput that you um, can use or that is being that you'll be able to use in the ASAv, right? So once it finished booting, it'll tell you there's no login, right? So that's all you need to do, right, to deploy the ASAv 001. Sorry, the ASAv 10 in my case in the VMware ESXi. So this is a very short tutorial, right? In the subsequent tutorial, I will show you how to configure the IP address in the command line so that you can launch the ADSM and configure the ASAv from the web interface or the client interface, right? So one thing you notice that the ASAv platform license state is unlicensed. You will need the license for the full functionality that you would like to try out. Okay, thank you very much for watching this video. Hope it's been useful and stay tuned for the next couple of ASA virtual videos that I'm going to do. Thank you, take care, and stay safe.